maybe. Yeah, I want to tell something about you know, the way that I work. Like it's like, for example, here this is a picture in my studio in a very small room, and this is after a few years that I already thought about this work, and then I just made from styrofoam just the size of the corner of a bathroom, and this was in my studio maybe for 1 year, and I knew that it was going to be like a bathtub and it was going to be a bathroom, but I didn't want to finish and didn't want to start making it. And so people who visit my studio, they could see these stupid 4 things like as like. But for me, in my mind, it was already like a room in progress. And so there were lots of rooms in my studio. I show bigger. I'll give you an example of yeah, here you can see like this is one of the spaces, and it's really big, and there are lots of objects in process. And what I do is you know, some works take really many years to get finished, and sometimes when a work is almost finished, for example this work. So at this moment it was finished, and then I make. You cannot really clearly see it, and then I make a room around it with pieces of wood, like very simple, like here you can also see it, like here, just the shape of a room, and then I use this work to make another work that could be in the same imaginary room. So if you have this. And then I decide, okay, I want to make a work that is in this room and in this area. Then it's really difficult to. It's really a problem because for me this work is finished and has a lot of content, and it's a really problem to make a work that fits here. It's really difficult to imagine and to make. But it's for me like. I make this goal to make something for there, and by creating this desire, I have to make something for that area, and then later this object becomes part of another work or becomes another room. Let me see. Maybe I can have more. Yeah, this is also. This is also something that I put in this book because it's not a work. Nobody saw this. It's like I made it very simple, like a table of lines, and we recognize that as a table. And this is maybe already for 15 years in my studio, and it never became a work. But sometimes I make objects that belong under this table. Or I make something that hangs on this table, and it never, you know, it never works out. But I use this very simple idea of a table to create other works. For example, what here I put on the table is like. It's like that. Oh, that's okay. Yeah? Oh, okay. For example, in this moment in my studio, so I have this table, and then I create a fake piece of soap, of ceramic, and I make a kind of line with 2 mouses on top of each other. And then there's a pencil that the point is hanging down, and so I made it for under here, and I decided it's not good enough. But this thing became later part of another work, and now it's good, and now it's finished. But because of having this table, I started thinking about this small still life, and now this table is still in my studio, and it's still not a work, and it's still, yeah. So I kind of create problems, or I make objects that are kind of problematic that I had to make a work with, and I don't care if it works or not, but I use them as tools to think about and to generate ideas, and that's why I say that my studio is like a machine, because it's a machine that creates ideas and works, and it's so the most of the time I'm just walking around, and I just work on maybe 30 or sometimes 40 works at once, and they don't if they don't work out, it doesn't matter. But I keep on working, and then suddenly something gets finished. For example, this work. This is it's a very like big installation that I started in I think 93, and it was finished 2 years ago, and it took me like more than I think something like 20 years to finish it, and like people saw it in my studio. For example, Harald Seeman, and he really thought, oh, I want to use it but I didn't want to finish because because it needs the right moment to finish it. It's like so I showed something else. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe you can. Maybe it's better to ask questions. Huh? Like, I don't know. Yeah. If somebody has questions.
Well, I wanted to ask. You've of course said many times that you do your works just for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you're much more approachable than most artists in giving interviews and talks and explaining your work. Is this also something you do for yourself so you can understand it better? Or?
No, it's something I think, in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong, huh? But I think I have to do that because I'm allowed to be an artist, and it's it's not so logical that you can be an artist in this society. It's something really beautiful, I think. So I think I have to be very open to show. That's why I make this book. I think it can be really interesting for other artists to see and because it's my work is not about me. It's about that a person can make. I just want to show what a person can make and think in his life, and because that's my profession, to show what I think and yeah, I'm very grateful that I can do that, and I have to be open for that because I think I don't have to say something about my work, but since I can, I will. But it's something like I can also say the opposite because I also show, for example, I showed the work in Venice in the supermarket, and I did that before, and that's the opposite. Like in the supermarket, people come and they don't want to see art, and they don't. Many of the people who come into the supermarket, they are not interested in art, and then suddenly they see an object, a thing that is made by another human, like in the supermarket, really out of place, and they just, I think, they, in your mind you have to react on that because there's something in front of you that doesn't belong in this place. And I think I really I like when I was graduating on art school. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Oh yeah. When I was graduating on art school, I started to do mental tests. When I finished the work, I placed it into a public space. Like, and most of the time I took a supermarket, because that's a very, very ugly place and a very very crowded and complex, and I did a kind of mental test if my work could survive there. For example, this let me see for an example. Yeah, for example, this thing, when it was finished, I imagined this thing in a big IKEA shop in Ghent, close to my studio. It's really ugly, and it's really like people are like very busy, and it's like all these furniture, and it's yeah. And I just imagined that I made an open space in this shop, and I put this thing there, and I imagined if it could survive there, if it's strong enough to survive without being artwork, that it just could survive in the world as a thing that. Because artworks travel through the world, like they can be in museums, and they're things that are, like words that travel to different minds, and that we can share. Artworks are also like things that travel through the world and to different places, and I like to see if my work can survive without me, and without me talking about it, and without a museum, and without just really naked in the world, and I think, but I think my work can survive all my work can survive in a supermarket, and yeah, and maybe I'm wrong, but I really believe that my work can really survive without museum, and without maybe people will. Some people get angry or maybe will destroy it, but I think in general, all people will kind of, I think, will react, or I don't know, yeah. Yeah. But it's like, it's very strange to become an artist in a way. It's like very a very strange decision that you think you can make something that is maybe special. It's very. I was really afraid to tell, for example, my parents that I was going to be an artist, because I thought it's like there were so many good artists already, and it's very strange to think that you can also add something to the world that is yeah. And but suddenly I just gave it a try, and then after a while I just had my coming out.
And in talking about the supermarket, I was wondering, do you ever exhibit drawings in general?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, but not so often, but. Actually, I make two kinds of drawings. Like I make drawings that I put on top of each other, and I just make a drawing in our ideas, and I just put them on top of each other, and they are piles that go. And I make more drawings that are more really like more like works, but for example, these piles of drawings. I sometimes also use as sculptures and as and without knowing what is inside the piles. I don't know. Well, I made all the drawings, but I just they're like just tools for thinking. Yeah.
So how would it look like to have a drawing in a supermarket? Because, like for a sculpture, the thing that the gallery gives its aura to the sculpture is maybe the base, or the light. So for a drawing, if one takes out, if it puts it in a supermarket and takes out the passepartout and the frame, it's really something very inconsistent.
No, but I think if I think there's a picture of a drawing in my studio. Yeah. For example, like here there's a drawing. It's if I would show it in a supermarket, I would take this drawing and I would put it on the floor in the supermarket, and so people would come into the supermarket and they would see a drawing on the supermarket on the floor there, and I think it will be fantastic.
What if they walk on it?
Then the drawing is destroyed.
Yeah.
but
do you think like the work of art still works as a work of art in the supermarket?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But of course, when somebody walks tears it apart or walks on it, then the work doesn't exist anymore. Eh? But I think I'm 100% sure. Like if I put this drawing, I walk to the supermarket, I put it on the floor, and I walk away, and people come in and they see this drawing there, and they will look at the drawing, and it will work absolutely.
But they will look at it as something different or unusual in a place.
Yeah.
But they won't look at it as something that's art.
They will. I think they will think like somebody put this drawing here, and what is it? And they will I think they will see it in a way in the same if you make a work of art, you make something, and if you finish it, you say I'm Mark, my age is this, and I'm born there and there, and this is what I want to show you. Like you put it in the world, and then you leave, and it's the same if you have that thing and you put it in a supermarket. It's the same thing. You show it, and it's out of place, of course, and it's very very fragile and very. But I think it will be very. One time I did a show it was in 1992, also in the supermarket, and I made I looked in the supermarket and looked for small things that people had lost, and I made a mouse, actually this mouse. I made this mouse in 92 or 93. It's made of bronze and it's put with sellotape around an object. This is just a situation. This is not a work. This is just something that was in my studio, and now this is part of another work. But this bronze mouse, in 92 I put in the supermarket on a shelf, between the pasta and so if people came into the supermarket, they saw there were like small pieces of paper and a part of a rope. Also taped to the shelf. It was like somebody found these objects in the supermarket and just I believe it really worked, and I think it was fantastic. And yeah. Oh yeah. But it's something that is for me like a way to, I only do it as a mental test. Like sometimes I do it in reality, for example in Venice. But I just think it's really good as a test if you that.
But is it like for you to know if it can survive in that kind of place, or if it's like alive? Because if you go to a museum, you came with the idea you have to look at that backdrop and look at it in a different way.
Yeah.
It's about that. But if you put it in a supermarket, you're just like trying to test the piece if that can, even if you don't look at it as a work of art, it can make you think something.
Yeah, but let's try to imagine the whole room here that you just saw. If you put that room in like somewhere in a big I don't know, a big fashion shop. Now, a fashion shop is maybe not a good example. In a very big well, in New York, in you know, the Grand Central Station somewhere, and like suddenly is there, like you go down, and then suddenly there's an open space, and that thing is there. I think it would be Would
that be the same? Sorry, would that be the same exercise as putting something in a supermarket?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it doesn't.
No, I can also put it on the street, but like this room, I could also put on the street somewhere, and in my mind, and I imagine, can it survive there or not?
Like, it's what I wonder. It's like those things on the street or in the supermarket or in a fashion show or in the IKEA shop. Those things are not Mark Manders, are not works of art, are things.
Yeah, things that somebody put there. Yeah, like the drawing on the floor in the supermarket. People would think, somebody lost a drawing.
But for those things to survive, they need to be in the museum.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's a mental test, of like you know, is this drawing that I show in the museum, can it also, because in the museum, like it's something really strange that humans made museums. It's very, it's fantastic, but it's yeah, like a museum, or like. But I think art in general is something really strange, because if it's an artwork, you look at it in a different way. It's part of a language, and it's part of a, but it's also the same thing as a let's think together about like for example, if you think about a sheet of paper, and you take a pencil, and then you move the pencil over the sheet of paper, and then the pencil loses the, what do you call it, the inside there, like it gets stick on the paper, and then you make decisions, and then you stop, and then you have you did something in an empty space. Your thoughts are like are kind of like recorded in a way. When this drawing is a work of art, you look at it. Yeah, how do you look at it? Like,
you look at it.
Yeah, but you look at it also in a way like because you want to understand what you look, and so there's something really strange about works of art.
So, but do you think, like, could it be a work of art that will really survive outside the museum?
No, I think finally it will not survive, because it will. People will, you know, with the drawing, people will walk over it. Or one person who really likes the drawing thinks, it's mine. Of course, yeah. But that's not my idea. It's of course I know that we need museums to protect it from time and from. But for me, it's more like a mental test. If it can survive without really naked, like and very fragile and very yeah.
I'm asking, like, do you really think that we need museums? Because as you're talking, it seems like it will be better if there were no museums?
No. I really like museums, and they're super important, and it's fantastic, and it's fantastic that humans made museums, and and museums are also fragile, very fragile. Like they don't exist so long, and they're very. We don't know what will happen to our minds. People who are born 50 years ago. They had a very. Of course, they have to. For example, if you take a film that like a cinema film that is made now, and you show it to somebody 50 years ago, this person wouldn't understand what is happening, because it's too fast and it's too. Like, minds are also evolving, and I'm very curious how people in 100 years will look to frozen objects or works of art, or like paintings. We don't know if people can still. We don't know if what is the position of a museum, and what is the position of an artwork. Maybe it becomes more important, but we don't know, because you just don't know. But how are we like 30 years? Like, nobody had a mobile telephone. You know, it's like, and internet was like nothing, and it's our thinking. It really changes our thinking, and I believe. I think I think museums are really fantastic and very important, and art is really can be really very important for our thinking, because I think the creative process of making works of art is something really that we can really learn about, because it's something very strange. Like it's something very. Beautiful. I think that you can create something for example, that you can take a few like ordinary things, and that you can find a way to make something. That you can make a work of art of this thing. It's something really strange, and for me, I'm very grateful that I have time to think about. If I want, I can take this in my studio, and I can decide to make a work of this, and I'm 100% sure that I can make something beautiful with this. I don't know how, but with this amount of water and this, I'm 100% sure that I can make something. Maybe it takes me a few years to make something with this, but it's possible. Like, and I have time to think about that, and people, yeah. It's I think really fantastic. Also that there is place that humans created a place in the world for people who have the time to think about this, and then they make something, and that they can show it, and people go to this place, and they will see they will look at this thing differently. So I understand that some works of art don't function in a supermarket, and so it's for me also a mental test. Like my goal is that they could, in my imagination, function in a supermarket. But I can tell something maybe about the work that I made a few years ago. It's called Shadow Study, and it's. I just wanted to make a work with a shadow. I had to make a work that is, the shadow is really important, and then I just realized that if you put a cup upside down, like the idea of a cup is really beautiful because you put something in it and then it goes out, and I just thought it was really beautiful if you turn the cup upside down. That an empty cup, that there is still something falling out, like a shadow falls out, and if you put something white under it, the shadow falls on this white thing. And then I thought further, like, I can also use, inside my my leg, I have a bone, and this bone has the same color as the cup. It's a perfect area to drop a shadow on. So I made a copy of this bone, and then I thought, like, but do I have to make a whole bone, or maybe it's better to take only like for example in this figure I used a wooden beam, and around that I made the image of a figure. So what I did, I took a small wooden beam, and around that I made the image of a bone. And then I put this cup over it, and there was like a shadow falling out of this cup on the white of my bone. And yeah, what is fantastic for me is that like every day there are millions of cups close to this human bones, and there are also millions of cups that are like upside down, empty, and there are millions of shadows every day falling out of cups, but nobody had the time to think about how beautiful that was. And in my profession, I can show that. And so trust me, I really believe in museums, because it's fantastic that's a place where you can show these kind of things. And so I really hope that people are very careful with museums, because they are very fragile also. Yeah.
You speak of time quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
As time. Is that the essential thing to your creative process?
Yeah, it's like for example, if with this shadow study thing, then when it's finished, it's something that is totally frozen, and it's something I can. It's like I had many thoughts of and also like how do you call it? I had to do many movements and thoughts, and then suddenly it becomes an object that is frozen, and that's something that I really think is so beautiful, that it's so that's why time is so important for me, because it's yeah, because we cannot beat time. We all grow older, and we die, and that's why it's also so fascinating and magical that you can, as an artist, you can freeze your thoughts into objects, and yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, have you ever used clay as a final material?
No. No. It's because well, I have some pieces that are fired clay, but then I paint them like they are wet clay, because I don't like them. But I'm working on some works now that will look like very dry and that are like totally unfired clay and cracked, but it will be painted bronze, but it looks like dried out clay.
But is it just because of practical reasons, transport, or because you could use like plastic which never hardens?
No, but it's the reason why I make things of clay is that it's very like I use chairs and objects and cups and also in my work I also wanted to I also needed figures, and for some works, and then I just really were doubting like how can I, in a logical way, in a very fundamental way, make a figure. I can take sand and build a figure, or I can get dust from a room and then make a figure of it, or it's more logical to take clay, wet clay, and you can just shape a figure and then you leave. But practically, I have to cast it and make it in bronze and then paint it like wet clay. But that doesn't matter. It's like the thing that you see when you place it in the supermarket is like a wet piece of clay that somebody made and left there. So it's kind of like a yeah. I try to you know, maybe for some people my work is very complex and unlogical, but like logic is a really important tool. But it's a kind of poetic logic, eh? Like, and so for me, like, it's very logical to make figures of wet clay, because you know, you can take clay out of the earth, and you do this, and then you can leave, and then it's something really beautiful. And it's like also, you know, one of the earliest works of art were made of clay in a cave. Like you have this animal figure that is made of clay, and it's so fundamental to take this material and to do something with that. But it's also the same thing as you notice, my drawings are like very simple, like just lines, and very kind of. It's also for me very logical, because it's something very fundamental. What I just explained, like you just make decisions on this paper, and then you can see it. I don't make it. I don't know. You know, it's like really thoughts, and yeah, I really enjoy these inventions that humans did, that humans discovered, that you can take this clay and just make an image of it.
Okay, back to the subject of time. We read somewhere that most of your ideas were conceived in the 80s and 90s. So could you tell us more about this?
Yeah, it's but it's also like a mental trick. Like you know, I started my work in '86 when I was 18. My idea was that I wanted to make a big self-portrait with many rooms, and so it was like you know, all my work exists in one moment. It's because they are all left behind. So they all like exist in a now moment. So I had to choose a point where they were made. You know, so it's very logical that all my work is made in 1986 when I started working. And so sometimes that's why I sometimes when I use really ordinary day things, I remake them like they were from '86. For example, I have I made I think it's so, yeah. So I have for example, I made this thing, and for this work, it was not finished here, but I used tea bags, and these are tea bags from '86, but they don't exist anymore. But I had to remake them, like I made these labels. So they look like how they were in '86. I made this work maybe I don't know, maybe 2008, or I don't really remember. But I had to remake these tea bags because I wanted that they were made in '86, because that's the moment where my work is made, because that's the moment where I started. And sometimes because it's, of course, it's also. It's something more. It's more something poetic. It's something, but it's also because of this. It generates also with different ideas, and it's like, yeah.
So do you want all of your work to be identified throughout your life, to be identified as made in 1986?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
why you keep referencing the specific year?
Yeah, because it's not made. but it's more like it's something very logical, but also unlogical, of course. It's also more something poetic, but it's the same thing as you write a book. This book has to take place in a certain period, you know. It's like yeah, and my work takes place in '86, and yeah. And the character who makes my work has, by accident, the same name as me. Well, not by accident, because I cannot make works. I cannot put another mind in my head. So it was very logical that the author of these works has the same name as me. Yeah.
So where does speaking of this, where does the man Mark Manders end, and when does the artist begin?
Yes.
Is it a very fluid boundary? Or?
Yeah, it's difficult to answer, because I always say that I would myself as a person, I would never make these works. You know, I would never make this strange machine, or why would I? You know, and I would never, you know, I made this for Documenta. I made this piece with this cat. I would never, as a person, I would never do something like that. But as an artist, I do, but there is it's very mixed. Also in my studio, everyday life and my work is really mixed. It's like I'm always working, but I'm also always having free time.
So when do you know a work of art is finished?
Yeah, I just know 100% sure when it's finished, but after that sometimes I change it.
Is it a feeling that you have?
Yeah, but it's also yeah. I allow myself also to sometimes show works in exhibitions, and then keep it. It comes back to me, and then I work on it later. And because for me, exhibitions are also tools, and of course it's once it's once a work is really finished and it's part of a collection, and then it's really finished, and I. But yeah, some works I just want to have the freedom of reworking, and since I'm still alive, I can do that.
So you say that you display something in a supermarket or in an exhibition, and then sometimes it comes back to you, and you work more on it. Is it the public that influences you to do this?
No.
Or does it have anything to do?
No, it's like for example, right now I'm finishing a work that I showed in Documenta and in 2002, and it was like a big room and everything in these rooms were reduced to 88%. It was like a reproduction of something somewhere else. And one of the works I'm working on now, and you know, it was received really well and really positive, but I never wanted to sell it, and I always kept it because I had the feeling that I could take one extra step, and yeah, so it doesn't really matter if people like it or not, because
so it's a purely inner feeling. Okay.
Because there were some pieces that for me are maybe my favorite pieces, and nobody talks about it or nobody writes about it, but for me they are very important. For example, what is really for me a really important piece is something very simple, but I really like it. It's I don't know exactly when I made it, but I took pieces of wax and clothes, and I threw them in a corner of a room, and then I took pieces of rope, white rope, short pieces, and I threw them also in the corner, and I repeated it many times until one of these ropes formed a number, like the number, for example, the number 2, And then at that moment, the rope that formed the number 2 just came back to my mind and made me think too. You know, before it was just this shape, but suddenly, you know, I did something in the world and it becomes language, and it changes something in my mind that my mind thinks too. It's something really beautiful. And then I put another rope, and I can show you it. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I don't know if this. Yeah, here. I don't know where it is in this book. But, here. You see? So this 4 is made of 2 pieces of rope that and this 2, it's like it's 1 piece. But I really so I threw these ropes many times until they formed this numbers. And so if you look at this corner, yeah, it's the number 429. You know, and I really like that it's made by coincidence, but also by really doing something in the world, and then you know, an animal could not make this work, and if an animal sees this work, an animal doesn't see this number. But we can see this number, and it's a kind of stupid work, but it's really beautiful because it shows us how for me how beautiful it is that something outside your body makes you think something, and it's something very fundamental, like yeah.
How long did you take until?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Yeah, it was really long. Yeah.
Speaking of,
and and about this, like nobody ever. I still have it, and I think nobody ever thought about buying this, or like my galleries also never thought about this piece of. But for me, it's really. I'm 100% sure it is good, and yeah. So I don't really care if people think it's good or not. I'm 100% sure that it's fantastic, because for me it's fantastic, and that's something very important for in my profession, that you really do exactly what you think is important. Like, and I'm lucky that that I can that my work is that I can live and make my work, and that people like my work. But it's I don't know. I really have to make what I think is good, and yeah.
I was wondering how the human body and the artist's body is. What is its significance, and how do you perceive it to be in relationship to the art you make, and to the installations you make, and also to the figures that you make?
Yeah, the figures that I make, they are like they're not really humans. They're really like images of they're like stylized images of humans, or like you know, it's never realistic. And actually, I made you know, I really use like the history of like different cultures and history of art as material that I can think about in my work. So sometimes I make works. For example, this room. This idea of this room was very simple, but it took me also maybe 20 years to finish it, or 18. it's like I wanted to make a room with only one word. Like you know, I make this self-portrait as a building, and it's really nice to imagine like a room with only one word in it. So I decided to make a room with only the word dog. Because this, if you see this, it's very small for you to see. This is like a, yeah, it's like a dog. But if you think about that, you can there are like countless ways of making a room with only the word dog. But what I did was I made a dog of it's made of bronze, but it looks like red clay, like a dog on that is lying on the floor. And it looks very like you have a feeling that you recognize this style of how it is made, the stylization of something very maybe something of 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. It's like very, but there is no, you cannot really link it to a certain culture, but it feels like something very. And then what I did was to make I took the same dog, I made it in 3 different sizes. I repeated the word dog, and because I thought it was really nice to because I'm a poet. Like if I write when I take a piece of paper and I write the word with dog, it's nothing. It's not a poem. And if I write 3 times the word dog, it's even worse. But if you make a room with the word dog, it can be something really fantastic. Like you have so many possibilities to make this room, and that's my, yeah, that's really fascinates me how to. And then going back on what you say about the body, what I really like about this work is that if you come into this room, you stand there and you look down to this dog that is very fragile there before you, and you feel physically too big or too in front of this dog, but in this dog you feel it's also it's outside. It's too big. It has a very strange. It gives a very strange feeling in your body that it's one part is too small and the other part is too big, and it's lying in front of you. You really feel. I don't know. It's yeah. So I'm really. Yeah, I'm really aware of how our work is physically conceived by your body and how, where your eyes are. For example, like the work that I did for Documenta, I reduced everything to 88%, like the whole exhibition. And for me, it was also interesting to, if you walked through these rooms, that your eyes were like just a little bit higher. You know, it's like you were just a little bit taller because these objects were smaller. You know, it was. You felt a little bit physically. Felt a little bit too big. You know.
I wanted to ask you about the use of color in your work. You told us before that you didn't allow yourself to use color, but now in this work in the isolated bathroom, it plays a really important role.
Yeah.
It seems like it adds another layer to it.
Yeah.
And why did you make this rule at the first time for yourself?
Yeah, because rules are super important, but very important that you break them. But they are very important. Also, like if you when you make an exhibition, you also have to make certain rules. Like I want like because with these rules you can go like this path, and then you can decide to break the rules. But it's a very good tool. It's the same, you know. It's the same thing as if you write a book. You also have to make a kind of rules, because otherwise the book would be like you know, you have to really have to and of course I can, these are my own rules, so I can break them every moment I want, but it's just an important tool. And yeah, and because I had this rule, I could think of but in a bathroom you use towels, and towels have you know, have colors, and yeah, so because of these rules I could make this work. Yeah.
Is it because of the use of color that you can think about that installation as a painting? Just because of the use of color?
Yeah, but it's also you know, if you look at this work, it's also like there's a picture here. Huh? It's like it's really like a composition of the. The title is also Isolated Bathroom, composition with 4 colors. You know, it's of course there are more colors, but it's you know, it's really like a painting from the like a Mondrian painting with like 4 colors. You know, it's like, but then there's nothing to do with Mondrian, but the way of thinking of like yeah.
Why is it just one color photograph in the book?
Yeah, this because wait, I show you because then yeah, it's a good question because
It's at the beginning.
it's a bit yeah. Yeah. Because it's a really good question because I decided because I could sorry. Ja, nu de. Okay. Because there is I took this photograph because I could answer your question. because you know, here I did choose a color. You know, this is red. But the reason why this is red is because if you think about a drum, like if I think I can only think with my mind, but I think the idea about a drum, like drums are red. You know, I think, like if you think about you know, bathtubs are white and drums, snare drums are red.
Does this color also evoke some sound, like the red? Like
yeah, but also like I think I just for me it's the most logical color for a drum, and so I have the feeling that I didn't choose this color. It's part of the word drum. Of course, you have different colors of drums, but if you think about like the yeah, it's just the most yeah. But I used the colors in more pieces. For example, in this piece that is in the exhibition upstairs. There were also like 3 colors. Like these books are blue, and this book is green. And the reason it's like a figure that I use these books to, like, they are dictionaries, fake dictionaries. I use them as kind of not really like a pedestal, but as something like to put a figure on. I just like this idea. But by choosing these books, I also could choose color, because a book has a color. And then I made these fake dictionaries. That is, you know where I come from. I was born in Holland. In '86, you had these kind of dictionaries. Like people of my age, they all recognize. Hey, it's Prisma dictionaries, like English, Dutch English. It's like a. So in that way, I can sometimes use color. Yeah, it's really sad if you want to be a painter and you and yeah, so I have to find different ways to become a little bit like a painter.
I wanted to ask, I saw another work yours that has a figure. I don't know if it's the same.
It's a different figure, but it's the same. Yeah.
And the relation with journal, the relation with oh my god. Yeah, newspaper.
Yeah.
Because the other work
yeah, it's
the newspaper just.
Yeah, it's
between the figure.
Yeah. It's true. It's
and
like.
I wanted to know if there is a relation between the newspaper and the figure.
Yeah, it's like I can show you. I don't know where it is. Oh, it's maybe here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's in here. It's this one.
This one, yes, exactly.
Here. Is this okay? Like this? Yeah. That's okay? Yeah, okay. So here you also have like a red clay figure. It's family of this one. And there I put a newspaper because this is a wheelchair that I chose. And I thought because the figure is of red clay, and if you put a red clay figure on the chair, the chair would be become humid, and so it's very logical to put something in between the figure and the chair. And the most logical thing is a newspaper, and since I cannot use an everyday newspaper, I had to use I have to make like a fake newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
So it's logic. But yeah.
Yeah, but everything in your work looks like that, like so spontaneous and logical, and like maybe you ask big questions about that, but it's just a simple thing.
Yeah, and yeah.
Then how it becomes like, because I've read like the interpretation of bathtub that it's here, like the Christic image and the resurrection.
Yeah.
So how all that like more complex thinking fit that like moment of spontaneity?
No, these works are not made really quickly. They only look like they're just made quickly. They only look like somebody made this and then put a newspaper on it and then walked away. But it took me a long time, and it's a really longer process. But I think it's really interesting. It's very important for me that it looks like a human person, just made it really quickly and just did it very, very spontaneous. Because you know, as a sculptor, like one of the, for me, very important tool is, but I don't know the English word for it, is like that you can show different actions. You know, if you look at a painting of Picasso, you see this painting, and you can look back in time. You can see like first he did this, and then he put the yellow there, but with making sculptures, you can also record different actions, and for me that's really interesting because actions are made by decisions and thoughts, and that's something that we can recognize, and it's a kind of language, you know. And that's why I work in this field.
But if you, for example, already in your previous interviews about Picasso, you said you could have seen the different phases of his work. But can you see, for example, also taking into consideration that you said the change in the way of people think, do you also see the process in your art as a process? Do you also see your change of the way of thinking or your evolution?
Yeah, but very, very slowly and very. I also have the feeling that I'm also always standing still, and that if I make a new work that has already existed. But yeah, if you look back at my work, yeah, you cannot say that I stood still, but it's very difficult to place. It's not only that my works look like that they just are left behind, but it's also, if I make exhibition, I really can use something of 20 years ago and put together with something that I made yesterday. You cannot see different periods. By some artists you really can see the development, but in my case it isn't, and I don't know why, but it's just not. Yeah. And it's, you know, talking about what is for me a very interesting period also, like is the, yeah, like the minimalist and minimalist sculpture, like for example Karel André, they wanted to make something like that's totally not personal and totally, but they didn't succeed because because it's always like if a human makes decisions, there's always it's always language, and it's always there are always decisions or details that are. It's very difficult to make as a human something that is, and it's very interesting. It's fantastic that for me it's a very important fundament their work, because after that you could use. They created really much more freedom and much more. I'm very grateful that I can make my works now after them, because I'm so that's why I don't worry about using you know the tiles. It's because it's I think I'm allowed to do that because I'm it's very respectful and it's I don't really touch Karel André's work. It's not about that. It's about it's part of our language.
So you speak a lot about language and creating a language, a desire for language. So who is this language? If you're creating for yourself, is this language just for you, and what fun it is?
Yeah, but as an artist, if you're allowed to be an artist, you also put your things in the world. So then when it's when people think it should be part of our society, then this language, this personal language, becomes part of our thinking. I don't know if I will manage to do that. That's not. I cannot. It's not. It's. But I hope that my work can also bring something to people and generate thoughts or like.
Do you think the ability to generate thoughts and to share this language is what makes an artist rise above mediocrity? Because you speak a lot about wanting to join other artists who you believe have been raised upon the mediocre standard. Is that what? How can an artist rise above that standard?
Yeah, that's really difficult to it's really difficult to tell, and there's also something where you all come in, because as an artist you can think that you make fantastic works, but if the world doesn't appreciate it, it stays in your room, and it's but. Yeah, it's difficult because we never really can be sure about that. You know, like if you look back in time, like in this period there are so many artists, and there are so many new artworks every month in for example in Chelsea. It's something is not right because like if and not all of these works will survive as artworks, I think, and but we'll see. We cannot say that now. What will be good and what will be important? It's very difficult to But I say that also in an optimistic way. It's not something like It's great that there are so many works, that so many people make works now. But finally, it's 100% sure that not all these works will. Probably not all these works are really works of art.
Could you talk about a little bit about your process in your studio and how, based on pictures and based on essays, seeing that you have a lot of things going on at once, and there's multiple, like over time, from something going on from 2 years to 20 years. Can you talk about, is there a conscious decision to work on one work over another, or is it just sort of this unconscious desire to, like, you know, tackle one piece or something?
Yeah, there's something yeah, I try to be very like very. It's also intuition, like. But sometimes some works I just don't want to finish because I don't want to, and then you know. There's, for example, one piece in my studio that I had standing there now, not so long, but maybe 3 years or 4 years, and I had really a good idea to finish it, and then I just didn't do it, and then I got another good idea to finish it, and I still didn't do it, and now last week I again got a really good idea to how to finish it, and I think now I will do it, and I'm almost sure that I will make it, but I'm almost sure that the part that I will make for this work to finish it will be a separate work, and yeah, it's a very strange process. It's very because you know, you have to be you know, like the desire to make something. It's very important, but if you really want to make something beautiful, you know, I just said, like, if I could make a beautiful work from this, if you really want it too much, it will not work. You really have to be very, like, okay, and very, I don't know, it's something, because if you want it too much, it will not work. But if you really ignore this desire, it will also not, because you will not think about it. So it's very strange and interesting. I think you have to be very relaxed and very tense at the same time about it, and really wanting it, but also acting as if you don't want it.
Do you think there's in each of these sort of spaces in your studio, and there's a lot of crossover, is each of these works or pieces that you're working on, are they a distinct thought, or is it more of an interrelation between all of them together?
Yeah, it's like, yes. Sometimes they act in my studio as words, you know, like that they suddenly come, that they sometimes even by accident come to get close to another work, and then suddenly I make this click, and then they become something, and so it's very different, like how they sometimes I put works really away because I think it's very good that I don't see it and I finish it later, and yeah.
Did it happen that you completely abandon a thought or a piece or destroy it completely?
Yeah, well, sometimes I forget works, and then and sometimes when I have a really good idea, and then I think, oh, this is really fantastic, and then I just don't make it. I don't know why, but I don't make it because and then I make something that is wrong, and that thing that is not so good becomes a good piece, and the other thing I just don't. I don't know why, but I make these by purpose, these mistakes, and I don't know. That's something that is really interesting to investigate. How this that's also what I'm very interested in, how this creative process works. It's very strange. It's very interesting, and also very interesting for yeah, it should be, yeah, it's something scientifically also very interesting, how it works in the mind. Like, yeah.
Since we're in the library, I wanted to ask also about your personal library. Who are the writers or the philosophers that influence you the most?
Like one philosopher that really was really important for me was Nietzsche, but because you know, when I was in art school, I didn't read for I think 3 years, something like that, and I didn't watch the news and no newspapers, because I wanted I thought it was very healthy for me to not read and to not see the news and not because now in this time it's very logical that you always are aware what happens in the world, but I felt at that time I felt very I couldn't, you know, if there was something terrible happening in the world, I felt really bad that I couldn't do something, and I felt small. And I think it's not healthy for your mind to always feel small and to see that you cannot do something. So I decided to not see news for a few years, and then suddenly I thought, like, I just thought now it's time to see the news and to start reading again. And then the first book I read was Zarathustra from Nietzsche, and I was really like. It was really interesting because if you read Zarathustra, you really it's written in a very special and also very bombastic way also, but it's you really you step in the mind of somebody else and you think together with this person, and so it was really impressive for me, and had a big influence.
Did you read maybe interviews by Mark Rothko, because you said also in your previous interviews that also you appreciate Mark Rothko, and Mark Rothko is really influenced by Nietzsche, especially this birth of tragedy.
Yeah. But Mark Rothko I really like because his paintings really work. You know, it really works. You know, it's like it's such a simple idea that you make this painting with just a few colors, and if you stand before these paintings, he really grabs certain emotions. And if you see a show with different paintings, it's fantastic how they react on each other, and it's fantastic. You know, it works, and it's really impressive that he managed to do this. Yeah.
Talking about artists you're interested in, artists from the past. I was wondering if you think there is someone today thinking about the same problems you're thinking, maybe finding a different solution, or anything similar?
Yeah, I don't know.
Someone you're interested in, an artist who's working today.
Yeah, there was some people that are like for example, there's also, but I didn't see it yet. I know there is an artist, Jason Dodge, who is also like working with language and so I didn't know his work before, but I had a show in the Walker Art Center where I saw his work. It was a fantastic show. It's called The Quick and the Dead, and there I saw his work, and I really feel connected, like like another artist that I really admire is it's a painter, Luc Tuymans. Yeah, there's something strange about his paintings, like many times when I saw a show of him, I thought, because I really like his work, and I thought, I was, but then after some months, I felt like that these paintings are really in my mind. I can recognize all these paintings. I can without seeing them, I can imagine them in my mind. And it's very strange that it works. And very strange that for some other painters, it doesn't work. I cannot imagine a painting of some. For example, there's a very interesting artist, because I don't understand his work. But I don't remember his name. He's also in the same gallery as. He's also in David Swerner gallery. He's from Germany. He makes these really. They look like 50s paintings. What's this? Neo Rauch. Like. If I think about his work, I cannot remember a single work. Only I know how they look, but I cannot put them in. I cannot get an image in my mind, and I never can remember his paintings. And with Luc Diamond, like his paintings are very simple and very, and they're just in my head. It's very interesting, and I don't. You know, it's a personal thing that like I think Luc Diamond is a really fantastic artist, and Neo Rauch is probably also a really fantastic artist and technically super and very. But I don't understand his work. But maybe in 10 years I will be really interested in his work. But it fascinates me that his work is not that I cannot put it in my head. I can only see it, and it. Yeah. That's for me interesting. Like how is that possible? Is that good or bad, or I don't know, but very interesting. Yeah. Sure, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
What about your self-portrait as a building?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you. Usually, I mean, to think about it. I mean, for me, maybe for all of us. It sounds like a typically kind of utopian project, but you have stated, if I'm not wrong, that you want to see it finished, that there is an end to it.
Yeah, well, when I'm dead, it's finished. But I don't want to make it in reality. I had like various points that I was really wanting to realize it, but then I felt that then it would be like a prison, you know. And now it's like an idea that I can work in, and I really like that it's not real, you know. That it's fiction, and it's also like a tool. And yeah, I think it's great that it's not really there, but that we can talk about it and we can think about it. But that is not there. It's just, yeah. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
So you speak, or you say, if I may quote you, my work is a fallible attempt to keep on living and living in as many human minds as possible, even after my personal death. So you're sort of talking about your legacy here and what you want to leave in your work when you go. Can you expand on that, perhaps? What exactly you mean?
Yeah, I think the strangest thing about living is that you know that you die, and that's very, very strange. Like, it's very difficult to imagine that you're not there, and it's really fascinating. It's not something that I worry about. It's something that I really I think it's like every human has to deal with that. And every human has to deal with people that are dying, and it's something. It's something also really beautiful that, and it's something really sad, but really beautiful that you're here and then you're not not here anymore, and we cannot in our minds we cannot deal with it, and maybe that's also why some people become artists, because they want to think about that and they want to put something in the world, and maybe it's better to become an inventor. But in my case, it was better to become an artist. But yeah, I think most humans want to do something in the world, and maybe it's arrogant to want that. But no, I don't think. No, it's not really arrogant. It's no, it's yeah. I think yeah. Yeah, there's something that really fascinates me, but it's another subject. Because in that can you this last sentence was something that I want to be in as many minds as possible. Yeah.
My work is a fallible attempt to keep on living and living in as many human minds as possible.
Yeah.
My personal death.
Yeah. There's a lecture from Daniel Dennett, who was a very interesting person, I think, and he made a lecture about religion, and he in that lecture he talked about for example he talked about the Yellow Submarine from the Beatles. They made this song like on maybe a Saturday morning, and they wrote a song about the Yellow Submarine, and now like there are millions of people who have an idea about a yellow submarine, but there was never a yellow submarine. There has never been a yellow submarine. It's only in that song, but it's part of our thinking, and it's really interesting. And he said something strange about religion, and maybe some people will get angry about this, but it's very interesting thought. He talks about that there is there are ants that are like little ants that are at a certain moment they want to climb on a piece of grass, and they want to climb on the top of the grass, and then and what happens then is that they get eaten by cows, and then the ant goes into the stomach of the cow, and he said like why do these ants want to do that? And he says like scientists were investigating this, and it's because they have like there's not a bacteria, but how do you call it? There's like a disease in their minds that tells them to go on top of this grass, because this bacteria, maybe it's not a bacteria, it's another word for bacteria. But this bacteria wants to be in a warm space, in a warm area, so it can grow bigger, and the warm space is in the stomach of a cow. So this disease tells the ants to go on top of these grass, and then gets eaten, and then the disease can spread, and he says something like that. That you can see religion also as ideas also as kind of things that want to become, that want to be in as many minds as possible and spread as and he says why is that? He says like it's because it wants to spread, like that. It's the ideas wants to be spread, and like the song of the Beatles wants to be in as many heads as possible, because the song wants to be. I don't know. It's because I don't know. It was something like I don't know. It's maybe it's interesting to look to this. If you look on YouTube. On Daniel Dennett and religion, it's very interesting, and you can be against it or like think it's stupid, but I think it's something very interesting about his way of thinking, and it's really fascinating. I'm an artist.
I read somewhere where you wrote that you're interested in the evolution of objects and humans, and then in one of your interviews you talked about the cup, how it's evolved from like hands to a leaf to a cup, and then the cup has an ear. Do you have any other examples of this evolution in the objects you use?
I can talk about so many different examples. Like for example, washing machines. Like some things are made by only one person, like a clothes peg. Well, also more people worked on that. But a washing machine has a very long history. First there were the stones, and then it closed in the water, and then it finally became this washing machine. And I really like that so many people worked on this idea, and step by step, and finally we have a washing machine, and it's fantastic. So, and I like that, like how people work together to create these objects, and then it's interesting as an artist to sometimes take these objects that have a real function in life, and to make them part of something poetic that tells us something else about life. because these objects are part of our, like chairs. We invented chairs. They're part of our thinking, and it's fantastic to write with these objects.
At what point, because you speak of the isolated bathroom, is that what's isolated bathroom? You say that the objects there are dead. What makes an object not dead? Is it
no, but the objects are dead objects because they don't live, they don't walk, they don't.
Okay.
Yeah, like plants, they are not dead.
Okay, so it's as simple as that in animals?
Yeah, really, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was also curious. So you talk about your dog work and the poultry of the dog. You use mice a lot in your work. Where did that arise from?
Yeah, it's the reason why I made this first small mouse and showed it in the supermarket was that I was fascinated by that I, as a person, I am afraid of mice, and I don't know why, because they don't do anything, and they're fantastic, they're beautiful, and lots of people are afraid of mice, and but it's something that I cannot. I don't understand why I'm afraid of mice, because they don't do anything. One time I did a small project with another artist. It's a long time ago. It's like we made a white room, totally white, and you could go into this room without shoes. And in this room there was a gecko. I don't know the name. It's like a kind of hagedis, like a reptile.
Yeah.
And it's a reptile that most humans are afraid of. But this animal cannot do you harm, because it's really small, and it cannot bite. It cannot. But you're afraid of this animal. And it was very interesting to be together in this room with this animal that you're afraid of, but you don't have to be afraid of, because there is something in our minds that we cannot control, that makes us afraid of this animal, although that we know that there is no danger, but we cannot control it. It's maybe something very. I think part of our evolution that something happens in your mind if you see this animal. There's like an instinct, like, okay, I have to be. And it was really interesting to make this test, and to make this room where you can be alone with this animal that you are afraid of, but you don't have to be afraid of. Good job.
Yeah. A lot of religious iconography is spoken about here, and you just spoke about religion. Do you yourself have any religious affiliations that?
No, I'm not religious myself, but I'm very interested in that humans made religions, but I'm very interested in this, because it's interesting that religions, you cannot ignore that they exist, and it's very interesting that humans create religions, and and it's part of our society in many different ways, and it's very, very interesting. It's very, and it's also if you think about dying, and think about the earth, that the earth is so thin, and the earth inside is so warm, and there's just a thin layer, and that it can crack, and that there is like the universe is so big. I can imagine that you want something to grab that, but I really enjoy it. That I don't have something to, that it's just. I really like to realize that you're so small, and that you and that I think it's something really beautiful. Yeah.
Sorry, I have to stop.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah. I hope it was okay. Yeah.